Welcome back to Newsnight, and of course, many thanks to my guests, UK High Commissioner to Kenya, Ambassador Jane Marriott, and US Ambassador to Kenya, Ambassador Kyle Makata, for patiently waiting on for this edition of Newsnight. Now, we want to switch gears. Of course, everything we're talking about will have a link with COVID because of what COVID has been for this year. But let's now talk a little bit about the war on corruption. Now, the country has been enthralled in headlines around possible fake tendering at KEMRI over the last couple of days. In fact, just to be a bit more specific, it was alleged that a tender was hurriedly awarded to a company using direct procurement under the cover of emergency, and that company was overpaid possibly by 3 billion Kenya shillings. Now, one of my guests, of course, US Ambassador Kyle Makata, has been very vocal about the war on corruption. He actually calls it thievery. Ambassador Makata, what are you hoping to see in terms of an investigation with these allegations about overpriced PPEs?
Well, you know, an emergency is no excuse for incompetence. It's no excuse to not be accountable to donors, taxpayers, people, and it's no excuse to not deliver the best you can for people that are in dire need of your help. And so I do talk about in KEMSA. This has to be looked at, because this is not just this is not just the 800 billion Kenyan shillings of thievery that takes place from public funds every year, which is huge. In fact, it's the value of that is the whole big four. So no matter what you think about politics, if you get rid of that, you can have the big four in exchange for that. So that's huge. But the difference between the thievery that we look at every year and this is that it wasn't just taking money that wasn't theirs. It was taking away the opportunity for life. These are people that need these PPEs. These are people that need the dawa. They have to have it to live. And that's been taken from them. So it's just not the money stolen in this case. It's the lives that are being stolen. And so I think there needs to be a huge outrage about this. And I don't say that just as a donor. I know High Commissioner Marriott and myself, we have to be accountable to the taxpayers that we represent and their generosity to give money for COVID in Kenya. We have to be accountable to them. But listen, those that are distributing these funds and receiving the funds have to be accountable as well. And I think there's a need for transparency in Kenya like there has never been before, especially during COVID. And I think we are responsible because those lives are at stake.
Okay, very strong point that you made there. Let me bring in Ambassador Marriott. Feel free to also answer the same question, but also tell us this. Should officials for whom the ministries they are responsible for, actually admit that there has been graft ongoing during their term? Should they resign? Is that something that you would say you'd be keen to see?
So personally, I think the person at the head of the organisation takes responsibility for that organisation. If a junior official in the British High Commission does some wrongdoing, that's my responsibility as the High Commissioner. I set the culture, I set the expectations, and I also set what the punishments are if somebody does something wrong, the disciplinary measures. So I'm a very big believer that the tone comes from the top, and we've seen President Kenyatta speak about the importance of anti-corruption measures and cracking down on corruption. But I would say absolutely, it's about accountability, it's transparency. No system is perfect. So, admitting where there has been wrongdoing and then crucially what's going to be done to fix it, I think is at the heart of going forward from here. Now, Kenya is currently 137 out of 180 in the Corruption Perceptions Index run by Transparency International. 137 out of 180. That means 136 countries are less corrupt than Kenya, and not that many are more corrupt. It's a problem. Everybody knows it. The president is taking actions against it. But this is where we really need to see Kenya's institutions standing up, being transparent, being accountable, and on a very personal level, stealing, and it is thievery, as Kyle says, is one thing. But to do it when it can potentially result in the death of your fellow citizens is just not acceptable. It's just not.
Ambassador Marriott, I like the way you've responded to that, but I want us to get a bit more specific. We know that tonight the Ministry of Health KEMSA to be specific, is being investigated by the EACC. We know that the cabinet secretary himself, the man at the top, has admitted that something did go wrong. Some things did go wrong during the course of the pandemic and, of course, the emergency measures that were put in place as well. What does responsibility mean for you when you say the man at the top needs to take responsibility? Be a bit more specific.
So I'm not going to comment on a sort of active investigation because that's for the institutions, that's the EACC, whom we work with closely and support to get to the bottom of corruption cases. It's for them to do the investigation. And then I think it's for CS Kagwe to work out what he wants to do with his people, depending on what the EACC findings are. But not appropriate to comment on a live investigation. But as I say, responsibility, direction, culture, that all starts from the top. And CS Kagwe and I had a discussion about this last week when we were talking about COVID and working together. That accountability and transparency, to me, are very important.
Okay. Ambassador Makata, you can also come in on that, but also talk to us a little bit about what partnerships the U.S. may have with Kenyan crime fighting and corruption fighting authorities, and when Kenyans can expect to see some fruit.
Well, listen, we're all looking for the big fish, as we say. We're looking for that public figure who is found guilty to actually not just be investigated but prosecuted and brought to justice. I mean, we want that, and the United States and the UK both have invested in big ways in a tremendous amount of time. Teaching investigators how to investigate well, prosecutors how to prosecute, how to take steps for plea bargaining, and all kinds of things to support and build capacity in the judiciary system as well. We're investing big in that when it comes to fighting terrorism, when it comes to fighting corruption. But the truth is here that the impunity has got to stop. It has to stop. And it doesn't matter who this person is, what level they are, who they're connected to. If they've done wrong, if they've stolen money, they need to be held accountable. And you say, well, people say, well, it'll never happen. It has to happen because you look at this. The losers here, the people that suffer here is the Wananchi. The people that lose out on the prosperity that is rightfully theirs, that they deserve, they're the ones that are hurting. They're the ones that are suffering. And so I think this is a fight for justice. This is a fight for what is right. And what better time now than we see, listen, you didn't just steal money, you took away the lives of your countrymen. This is the time to hold people accountable. This is the time to stand up for what is right.
Yes.
And I believe the leadership in Kenya wants that. Act on it.
Ambassador Makata, but specifically, talk to us. I know that there have been training programs organized in the United States for the DPP, the DCI. Just give us a few more details about that and when we expect that to bear fruit. And, of course, should there be money that's been siphoned out of the country to a jurisdiction like the U.S., what can the U.S. government do to assist Kenyan authorities?
Well, I hear this a lot on social media. They say, well, just bring back all the money. Listen, you show me where the money is, we'll get it. I think this is a narrative that people like to talk about. Believe me, if we know there's a transfer of funds, we're going to stop those funds. The bureaucracy is no reason it should never be an excuse for not dealing with corruption. But I tell you, who has a huge role in this. In this thievery / corruption issue is the young people of Kenya, and I've challenged them just this last week that they have talent, they have technology, they really have a tremendous gifts in technology, and they need to use that to bring about transparency in all of government in Kenya. I've seen this done in the United States with openbooks.com. I've actually seen it happen to where you can track every dollar from the United States government to every state, to every county, to every city. The young people in Kenya, this is their opportunity to stand up, create an app, create a website, whatever it is. Come together, use your talents to bring transparency to Kenya, because the only way you're going to have accountability is with transparency. Sunshine is an amazing, powerful thing, and Kenya needs it, and the youth of Kenya can be the ones that bring it to them today.
Ambassador Makata, I like your optimistic view, and I'm sure Ambassador Marriott shares the same opinion. But Ambassador Marriott, and even as you speak about what the UK is doing to assist, Kenya fight corruption, a lot of young people say, even if we have the apps, even if we have the tech, if the system doesn't work, at the end of the day, we will not get our value. If the system doesn't work, we will be engaged in programs like Kazi Kwa Vijana, which we know is funded by the World Bank, but we won't get the money that we're supposed to receive. There'll be delays, the amount will be halved, a myriad of problems that young people are facing in the country today. Ambassador Marriott.
So absolutely, and as Kyle said, this is about the young people, the future of Kenya, and making sure they've got the support and opportunities in life that they deserve. So the UK has been working with the EACC in particular on technical support, and as a result, we've seen a 40% increase in convictions. I like to think the UK has helped in some way on that. We work closely with the multi-agency task force. We've also, in 2018, it's taken us 2 years to get to this point now, but the framework of returning corrupt assets that Prime Minister May signed in 2018, that is now bearing fruit, and we're hoping that £3 million worth, sorry, I don't know what that is in shillings, that £3 million worth will shortly be returned to Kenya to help in the fight against COVID, taken from corrupt proceeds by corrupt people here in Kenya and returned for the benefit of the Kenyan people. And I've been working with the government of Kenya and the Swiss ambassador on doing just that. So, transparency, it's got to be key. Accountability is key, institutional accountability, but also personal integrity. A lot of people have been in situations where they've been forced to do something and to pay some money that might not be appropriate. The UK, for example, it's hard for British companies because we have such strong anti-bribery legislation, and I think it's the same in the US, that our companies aren't competing on an even field. We can have the best bid in, but we're not going to give some money to certain people in a certain position in order to get that contract. We want to win it on merit, and that's best for the Kenyan people as well.
Okay, Ambassador Marriott, thank you so much for that. Ambassadors, believe it or not, we really are running out of time. I can't believe where our time went, but I still have a few more questions for you. So let's do this. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to finish by talking about the trade deals, and then we wrap this up. Thank you so much for your time. And of course, to all our viewers, thank you for staying with us. We'll be right back. Keep sending your questions. 22422 is the SMS line, and the hashtag is NEWSNIGHT. You're watching NEWSNIGHT. Stay with us. We'll be right back.